I had to do a video about this terrific lady whom is part of my phone locked screensaver. But her life was taken away at an early age. But before I go any further, let me break down who she was to those who doesn't know her. Well, Selena Quintanilla Perez was born April 16, 1971, and died on March 31st, 1995. She was an American singer, songwriter, spokesperson, actress, and fashion designer. She was born in Lake Jackson, Texas. She was the youngest child of Marcella Ophelia Quintanilla, who had Cherokee ancestry, and Abraham Quintanilla Jr., a Mexican American former musician. Selena was raised as a Jehovah Witness. Quintanilla Jr. noticed her musical abilities when she was just 6 years old. In 1980, in Lake Jackson, Quintanilla Jr. opened his first Tex Mex restaurant where Selena and her siblings, Abraham III, was on bass guitar and Suzette Quintanilla was on the drums, who often performed there. The following year, the restaurant was forced to close after a recession caused by the 1980s oil glut. The family declared bankruptcy and were evicted from their home shortly after. They settled in Corpus Christi, Texas. Quintanilla Jr. became manager of the newly formed band called Selena y Los Dinos and began promoting it. They needed money and played on street corners, weddings, and at fairs. As her popularity and as a singer grew, the demands of Selena's performance and travel schedule began to interfere with her education. So her father took her out of school when she was just 8 years old. Her teacher, Marilyn Greer, disapproved of Selena's music career. She even threatened to report Quintanilla Jr. to the Texas Board of Education, believing the conditions in which Selena was exposed to was inappropriate for a girl her age. Quintanilla Jr. told Greer to mind her business. Other teachers expressed their concerns when they noticed how tired Selena appeared when she arrived at school. At 17, Selena earned a high school diploma from the American School of Correspondence in Chicago and was also accepted at Louisiana State University. She enrolled at Pacific Restaurant University, taking up business administration as her major subject. But Abraham had a dream for her, and he dedicated his life to eventually get her to be called the Queen of Tejano music now, for her contributions to music and fashion made her one of the most celebrated Mexican American entertainers of the 20th century. Billboard magazine named her the top Latin artist of the 90s and the best selling Latin artist of the decade. Media outlets called her the Tejano Madonna for her clothing choices. Now, she also ranks among the most influential Latin artists of all time and is credited for capitulating a music genre into the mainstream market. To know more, please go and see the movie Selena or read Chris Perez's book called To Selena with Love. I'll put the link below for that. Now, let's get to the point of this video. You see, Abraham Quintanilla Jr. was in a group called the Dinos. But they didn't do so well, so he ended up doing the typical American thing by ways such as getting a steady job and trying to take care of his wife and kids. But with his dream chasing, he missed out on his first two kids' births. So when that moment of Selena singing, it was like him seeing a light and his dreams coming true or going to come true. Notice I said his dream, not Selena's. Now, it's been foretold that Selena wanted to be a normal kid, but her dad saw better things for her. He was reported booking gigs all the time and anywhere. He even opened a restaurant and had the kids playing there. As I stated earlier, it was reported that he used to have them up there for hours, sometimes without food even. Now, with all the gigs and restaurant playing, Selena suffered a lot in school, so he pulled her out. As I stated earlier, he pulled her out of school. Abraham was using Selena as his own personal slave and living out his dreams through her. Marcella was so afraid of him and hated that he gave up so much and was pimping their kids. But he ignored her and kept her working. It was also reported in Chris Perez's book, Selena's Husband, that Selena and he had several shouting matches. This is Selena and Abraham, her father, has several shouting matches, whereas Selena sometimes collapsed on the floor in tears because she was tired of him telling her what to do and controlling her life. Chris even had to intervene at times to tell Abraham that she needed to rest or he would burn her out. Selena opened that boutique, of course, because of her dream to, but to show her father that she can handle and run her business without his assistance. It was foretold that he only gave her that house near him to keep an eye on her. You see, Selena was a very beautiful and major talented, but she wasn't very smart. Abraham and AB and some of the band members was always taking a big chunk of the checks and giving Selena whatever was left. But she never questioned it. She trusted them, and she didn't care just as long as she can still go shopping. Selena loved them all. Heck, she stayed in a tiny apartment until she got married, and Abraham let them stay in one of the houses he owned for free, as I just stated. The band members, especially AB, was driving around in nice cars and buying their own houses and getting married and things of that nature. Heck, Abraham even constructed and started his own company called Q Productions. Meanwhile, Selena was still doing her hustle. He treated her like a robot and his own personal moneymaker. He was even always being seen in the back of the audience and crowds and interviews and making sure she don't slip up, or pretty much making sure she was in her best behavior as a bodyguard or a handler or something along those lines, which often caused them to clash a lot because of that. I believe God saw this innocent and beautiful girl being pulled in so many different directions that he took her back. He even tried to warn her of what was to come. It was said in Chris's book that they were racing one day and a dove was flying very low and hit Selena's car, and she immediately stopped and emotionally told Chris to see if the bird was dead. Of course, Chris, being the big hearted person he is, he told her that the bird was okay, but it was actually dead. I believe the bird represented the innocent will fall and the soul was rising to heaven, meaning whatever the house and or object the dove hits, a person in that house would die. That's pretty much the theory behind that. In Selena's case, it hit her car and she was the only person driving it, so she would die. Now, the second warning was when Selena was cleaning their house and she ran across one of Chris's CDs called Revenge, and she got very furious and ordered Chris to get rid of it. The last warning was the constant dream that Selena kept having on stage singing one of her English language album songs, and she said the dream always ended with someone throwing a white rose on the stage, which is Selena and, by the way, one of my favorite flowers next to the white or yellow calla lilies. But that's getting off the subject. Anyway, when you have a dream of a white rose, it means, well, it means a falling star. It normally means a death soon to come. But in Selena's case, wherever she tried to catch it, she couldn't. She missed the signs of something being wrong, and that pretty much meant that she would fall. These signs were given to her. I believe Selena was meant to live a normal life, but the plan changed when the devil demons intervened, and God then tried to cramp all his plans for her in a short amount of time. Unfortunately, he made her life a tragic end because he knew that that was the only way people thereafter would remember her. Now, we must admit, if she would have died normally, like an illness or anything of that nature, she would have faded over time and no one would have remembered her. But God didn't stop there. He sent an angel to help carry her all the way to the hotel lobby that day, that unfaithful day. Because upon her falling onto the lobby floor, she had bled to death, and which caused her veins to collapse. So it would have been physically impossible for her to have ran that far without falling along the way. You see, God wanted her killer to come to justice before he took her. But the recent events had me worried. Although I love the makeup, but it seems that the family isn't done marketing off her. They made a statue of her. Now, I know a lot of you may say that I'm reading too much into this, but am I? Also, looking in it may seem that they're just savoring her memory. And that could be part true, but I believe it's something way more deeper. Because they're marketing from her memory. I mean, they could have launched Suzette makeup line, because she wears a lot of it, no offense, but she does. Why Selena? Why? Because even dead, she's still the moneymaker and her family will use her memory as much as possible. It's so sad to see someone marketing from someone as if she wasn't used enough. I know a lot of you would not understand, but look what happened to Michael Jackson, Amanda Bynes, poor girl, and even Drew Barrymore before she found herself again. Thank God. Also, what's happening to Miley Cyrus, Macaulay Culkin, Mary Kate and Ashley, those two, I'm gonna do a video about those two because I'm still a little behind the theories behind the whole Heath Ledger thing, but that's going to another subject. Anyway, and then Corey Feldman and many more. When you use a child for your own personal and greedy pleasure, you destroy their innocence and any normality, and you leave them vulnerable and naive to sick people. I mean, look at Beyonce. She's a walking robot and she knows nothing but singing, which often leaves the person acting like a child and thinking like one at times because they never had one. So, my message for the ending of this video is please keep a child a child, keep them innocent.